All right, good morning, good afternoon, or even good evening for you hardy folks out there. This is Dom Nicastro, staff reporter from CMS Wire, today on the line with Bridgeline Digital for this webinar, 5 Tactics to Recover 60% of Lost Revenue from Abandoned Carts. So happy to be here today on the line with Bridgeline Digital. And before we get going, we have an exciting giveaway offer from us. That's right, the free offer. One webinar attendee has the chance to win that three-day pass to CMS Wire's DX Summit 2017. It's our third annual conference coming up in November. It's the 13th to the 15th in the Windy City. We've had great success there the last 2 years. Looking forward to year number 3, I should say. So November 13th to 15th. Find out more about our conference at dxsummit.com/2017. But one thing, you've got to stick around to the end of the Q&A in order to be in there for the chance to win. So stay around and you will get the chance to be that lucky winner. All right, just a little bit about our agenda today. We have about 5 minutes or so of introductions, which we're in now. Then we got about 35 to 40 minutes of presentation, the meat of the show from our presenters, who you'll hear a little bit more about in just a second. And then at the end, we want to hear from you. That's right, you, the listeners. Get a live Q&A going for you so you can ask questions to our presenters. Matter of fact, you can ask questions now. Get them right in that Q&A module at the bottom left of the browser. If you got a burning question on your mind now, hey, go ahead in there and ask questions right now. Don't have to wait until the end of the show. We'll get them circulated and ready for our Q&A. Also, there are colorful widgets there at the bottom of your browser. They have additional resources, including any technical support. Knock on wood for that one. Hopefully, everything will be fine today. A little bit about us, your host today, CMS Wire. I've been a staff reporter for our team for about 4 years now. We get lots of editorial contributors. We do articles, themes, webinars, of course, and we're focusing in those 3 areas: digital customer experience, the digital workplace, and also information management. And so happy to be working with Bridgeline Digital today. You know, they have the award-winning interactive development capabilities to helping customers cost-effectively accommodate the changing needs of today's rapidly evolving web properties. And it's allowing them to maximize revenue, improve customer loyalty, enhance employee knowledge, and of course, reduce operational costs. More about these guys at bridgelinedigital.com. And just introducing our speakers, there I am, top right, your moderator for the show. I'll be running the Q&A at the end, but soon I'm going to be turning over things to the presenters. You got Alex Combos, Senior VP of Marketing at Bridgeline Digital. You got Kyle Cordes, VP of Business Development at Bridgeline Digital. So there's the Bridgeline team, and very special guest as well, Phil Camelor, VP of Client Services at Moss Media. So good to have these guys on board. All right, we're going to turn it over to Alex. Alex, you want to start things off for us?
Thank you for the introduction, Don. And hello, everyone. This is Alex Combos, and with that said, I'll kick it off with some interesting facts. A number of studies have been run on how many carts are abandoned, and the average is 70%. Some studies reported abandoned rates as low as 55%, and others as high as 80%, but the average is about 70%. With all these shoppers leaving their carts behind, that's where the recovery strategy comes in, and it's going to make sure that not all of your shoppers abandon their baskets and carts forever. So for most e-commerce companies, digital strategies are focused on acquiring new visitors. The internet presents an infinite pool of potential buyers looking for your products, right?
And for most retailers, the acquisition strategy is just that, and it's the opportunity to come in and begin to retain some of the revenue that may get lost. So it's an important approach that we want to discuss today. Alex?
Sure. So from initial visitors to the cart to active customers, they just don't stick around. Retention is considered a customer-only activity and often a nice-to-have. As a result, most of your acquisition budget is wasted. And we really need to think about retention.
The same principles do apply for both medium and large retailers, and you don't have to have an acquisition-only strategy. In fact, it's cheaper and easier to convert existing customers and visitors. Even lapsed customers convert more easily than new ones, and the people that bought from you before can spend more money, which is awesome. So retention, and we mean from the moment you acquire them as a visitor, this is the biggest opportunity in e-commerce today. It's an opportunity that we can really have a major impact to your bottom line as well. Adobe reports that a single 1% increase in retention could equal up to a 10% increase in revenue. And it's a wonder that more e-commerce retailers don't work harder on retention.
That's right, Carl, and they're really starting to. We'll explain more in just a minute.
So to address these issues of poor conversion and retention, the logical place to start is where you almost had the revenue. You were so close, but you didn't quite make it. So we really want to help you figure out a way to prevent the loss from happening and recover it.
So this is what we call revenue recovery. And in the next few slides, we're going to explain how to get started. So many companies are using a basic abandoned cart email. They'll use remarketing to follow you around the web. Some don't have the ability to show the product details in these campaigns, but to outperform everyone else and really cut through, you must go far beyond the abandoned cart. And to address these opportunities in the total customer journey is what really makes an impact. The holistic revenue recovery strategy is what we're going to talk about. So what is really a revenue recovery? It's a strategy to predict, protect, and recover revenue from across the customer journey. Effective recovery addresses two major things. First, it's abandoned intentions to purchase, so someone indicated they're going to buy. And secondly, defecting customers, which means someone actively buying shows signs of stopping. By using a revenue recovery strategy, most marketers can get more revenue from visitors and customers they've already acquired, and that's where the secret lies. So revenue recovery is a strategy, but to execute at a meaningful scale, you need technology behind you. You need to capture the right behavior data, the right structure. You obviously need the right web store, and the tools that come with it. So ability to analyze it and visualize it, the ability to automate campaigns across channels, and definitely you have to measure the impact. So you are really the brain of the revenue recovery strategy, but technology is the engine. It's the best way to think about it. So moving forward, seems we have a quick poll. Dom, I'll hand it off to you to explain a little bit more about this.
Yeah, thanks, Alex, so much. We do. We want to hear from you, help us kind of, shape things as we go forward here. Really big help. So go ahead and answer that. The question is, what is the biggest pain when it comes to missed revenues from abandoned carts? You can choose the best answer. Well, the answers are disparate platforms, lack of human resources and or budget, and lack of marketing automation. So while we're waiting for the results to trickle in, Alex, I want to kick it back to you. In your experience, are you thinking we're going to see one of these answers over the other, or we're going to get a healthy mix here?
That's a good question. We've seen different companies having different reasons. The majority, though, across all of them is a combination between disparate platforms as well as lack of resources.
Yeah, Alex, I was going to say the same thing here. The lack of marketing automation could really impede the ability to do this effectively. And more importantly, if you are a smaller retailer and somebody who just hasn't done this, not having the right staff available to focus on both the setting up the campaigns and kind of the strategy behind it could be an impediment as well. But again, if you can take some basic steps from this webinar, there should be a way for you to see some new streams of revenue coming in.
Yeah, and there we are. We have the answers right in there. And yeah, lack of marketing automation, as Kyle was saying, is number one. So 43.3%, followed number two, disparate platforms, about a third of our audience there. And then a little more than a fifth of our audience, lack of human resources and or budget. Alex, any commentary on those results before we move forward?
Well, it doesn't surprise me about the lack of marketing information. It's really what is the engine behind a really robust platform, either that's for content marketing or for commerce. And as we'll see moving forward, the rest of the steps in today's webinar, we see marketing automation as a big, big part of this. So it doesn't really surprise me. What do you think, Kyle?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, Alex. Ideally, what we all need to try to strive to find is a situation where we can set these campaigns up and forget it and just allow them to operate in the background, because this could be happening 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and humanly it would be impossible for us to be able to hit that button every time at the right moment. And so to be able to automate this process is going to be a key strategy to really moving this forward.
Great. So moving forward, thank you, Don, for this. So the first step, which is really to create the right plan, right? So some of the opportunities to intervene are obvious. Clearly, the cart is where most recovery starts. But if you think about the entire customer journey from the users first landing onto your website to becoming inactive, there are several touch points that can be leveraged for recovering revenues. And here are some questions we need to ask ourselves, right? So for new visitors, immediately on entrance, what can you do to reduce the bounce rate and pull people into browsing who would otherwise have bounced? How can you ensure they get to the product they want soon before they leave? And how can you capture their email as they shop so you have the ability to remarket?
And then at the cart, it becomes important too. How can you ensure that the maximum number of people will convert for the maximum value there and then, or could be reached later if they don't? And during the purchase, how can you recover a purchase where there could be a failed payment or something else that impeded them from being able to complete the sale? So we want to really make it as likely as we can for them to come back and buy again. And then, as the engagement begins to tail off, is there other ways that we recognize that we can revitalize and re-encourage these people to come back? Our goal is to really want to win back inactive customers as effectively as we can. And the only way to really effectively do that is to start an intentional revenue recovery. And we want to list each one of the different customer scenarios and those journeys, kind of ahead of time. So that human resources thing that we saw is an important part of making this work, because we do want to set that up appropriately. And we have got to think through that to make it work.
So let's review how to fix some of these. It's important to know that you can't fix all the things all at once. And the place to start is where the most ROI can be gained. And for that, you need to prioritize. So let's take a look at this chart, because there's some really good information here. We can start off by defining what an opportunity score is. It's a simple score of how many times a particular lost revenue scenario happens, multiplied by its worth if it had not been abandoned as a cart. So imagine you have 50,000 people per month abandoning the cart, and each order would be worth $15 on average. That's $750,000 missed. Same token applies if there are 5 million visitors bouncing worth $5 each, then that's $2.5 million missed there. So what we've done here is plot the complexity of implementing a solution versus an opportunity score. And plotting the opportunity against the complexity of resolving the issue can give you a prioritized revenue recovery plan of action. You start from the top right, and you work your way inwards.
So when you look at this chart, it looks like we'd be able to resolve the cart abandonment by starting with the bounce rate solution followed by the cart abandonment solution. So again, it's worth taking a look at something and approaching a strategy in this way.
Yeah, and you really have to look at the data. So let's say we have a specific segment with a 4% conversion rate of defecting customers, and that makes about $250,000 from this segment in 30 days. Right? We know that if we double that conversion rate to 8%, we'll make $430,000. And you need to do this with each key segment, because when you double that from 4 to 8%, the 200 to 400,000 difference is huge. And your most loyal but now defecting customers will tell you exactly where the biggest revenue opportunity is, how big it is, and how much needs to be done to meet it. You'll know exactly where to focus your efforts.
That's exactly right, Alex. So we need to think about and ping the shoppers who are abandoning their carts so they convert. And one of the things that becomes important here is the opportunity for the shopper to come in from a world that could be wildly changing. So think about you as you shop at home. You're sitting there on the couch, maybe you're shopping for paper towels or shoes or whatever, but all of a sudden the next minute you have to run into the kitchen because something's boiling over on the stove. We've got a lot of price-conscious shoppers out there, so a well-timed abandoned cart email with a coupon could be a difference maker for those kinds of people. And when customers are sent to an abandoned cart email, you've got an opportunity to do upselling or cross-selling to them, which is really cool. It's a great way to apply the technology. And if we've got abandoned items in the cart, we potentially could draw them back and make other product recommendations. What we've learned, though, is banner ads aren't quite as effective as they used to be when it comes to bringing shoppers back. So there are many different types of recommendations when you start to think about, okay, how do we take full advantage of that email to bring somebody back after an abandoned cart? Think about what you've got. You may have some best sellers that you've got on the site, and maybe there are certain categories that are best sellers that we could kind of suggest to people as well. Purchased with, these are items that would be logically purchased together, or if there's characteristics that match. For example, if you're buying a red shirt, do you want to get maybe blue shorts with that, or a different pair of shoes, or those kinds of things? So there's a variety of different ways that we can really make product recommendations and enhance the overall value of the message that we have.
Okay, great. So now let's assume that your target is huge. Suppose you created a prioritized list. You need to implement some revenue recovery strategies. And for that, the best way to go about it is to introduce you to 5 types of shopper personas. So the first one is the browsing user. When a customer browses a product displaying purchase intent, it makes sense to store information about the product and category affinity, regardless of whether they buy or not. But when a product was considered and a purchase wasn't made, you can trigger a multi-channel recovery program across your existing web store, in addition to social, email, mobile campaigns designed to re-engage them. So let's check out this example. This client uses several tactics to make this email recovery for abandoned browsers. Firstly, they show the product browsed, but they've also included predictive recommendations. So specifically, these products that people who browsed and they then went on to buy. So anyone who's used Amazon has seen this many times. With recommendations, you're far more likely to convert than from email. Secondly, is also including a click and collect info. It's very, very important. And third, this email is integrated with other channels. Even if this browsing user never opens that email, he or she will see those recommended products on their next visit to the website. In the case that you don't have the email address for the person browsing, the best move you can make when they indicate they're going to be leaving your website is to capture their email address before they go. So, for example, use a behavioral overlay that offers an incentive for subscribing. That way, you can capture the address for life, basically. But you can also remarket them immediately based on their browsing behavior. And this is really important because ensuring your abandoned cart emails are set up to succeed, capturing the email address right away during the checkout process is really important. Now, if changing your entire checkout process isn't an option, here's some other options that can get you a shopper's email address. Ask shoppers that aren't logged in to either give their email before completing a checkout or adding their items to their cart. Another way is displaying a pop-up or a light box that offers an incentive or a discount in return for their email address. That's actually very, very impactful. In general, just ensure you ask for an email address earlier versus later when the customer checks out.
That's a great idea, Alex. You know, it's fascinating to me when you think about this persona, the hesitant shopper. I know for many of us who are online retailers, this could be a frustration. They come to the site, they spend a lot of time with you, and they're actually just so close to making the purchase, but then they don't convert. Really they represent about 70% of the people that actually make it to the cart. So, again, when they get that close, what went wrong? How can we change that? So we definitely would want to reach out to these folks and, in a very strong way, try to get them to return with a special offer to make a purchase. So we want them to buy now. So when we looked at an abandoned cart email, here's some good examples as well. When we invite them to come back, again, we can browse the category and not just the product. Maybe they got, caught up on something, but then something else caught their eye. The other thing that could be very, very important would be predictive recommendations. And again, this is where the marketing automation is going to play a key role. Particularly, we want to be able to see, what have they looked at in the past? How can we attribute their behaviors to their browser history, by cookies and those kinds of things. At the end of the day, we really want to try to make a recommendation that makes sense, either based on previous history with other people in the category, or if we can do it with that particular user. It's really about personalization, Alex.
Yeah, and for customers who don't open the email, it makes sense to reset and include recommendation in future emails on the website. And actually, sending the second abandoned cart email recovers about 50% more compared to the first abandoned cart mail. So, but there's more you can do. A recovery campaign should be one part of a multi-channel program. You have a sophisticated email with recommendations and content targeted at specific customers' life cycle stages or category affinity. The email can be split tested to optimize it because it's so important. And you can combine it with Facebook ads and text messages. If the email goes unopened, you still have a strong chance of reaching that customer on another channel.
Another persona here, the fickle shopper. Once they finally become a customer, that's awesome. So that's worthy of congratulations. And, they should be far more likely to convert once again, but it still takes work. And, when you think about how we engage with somebody who's a previous customer, the promotions that we are going to send to your active customers, assuming they've opted in, are going to be very, very important to helping you with reactivating them and getting them back to purchase again. And again, PetFlow, this is really a great example. I get excited when I see these kinds of programs. And PetFlow was successful at doing just that. So they sent a campaign that promoted their direct debit subscription model, something that all of your bosses would love. And when they actually got effective conversion off of this campaign, they had 9% more first-time buyers become active customers. Now, that was a huge increase in subscription revenue. So think about that. Not only was it revenue for today, it's revenue for the next month, the month after that. That's completely awesome. Another retailer that we know, uses a 15% off voucher as a reminder to come back and make that purchase. And then, if they still haven't come back a couple days later, they send it again. And there's really no pain or hurt in doing that. Sometimes people don't even open that initial email, so resending it makes a lot of sense. So our goal here, we want to move them from being somebody who is just the occasional to somebody who's more regular. And if you have a set of products that make sense for a subscription revenue, that's a great way to go as well.
Yeah, something on that call. If they're just not buying, you don't have much to lose with a reasonable incentive. So moving on into the next persona, the golden boy. So with 8% of customers generating 41% of revenue, any loss is a concern. But when your highest spending customers stop buying, it's really time to give it your best shot and win them back. And the best way to explain this is with an example. A luxury goods retailer takes this very, very seriously. They send their best customers a beautifully etched silver loyalty card in the mail, postal mail. After a period of inactivity, they'll ship their customers a luxury candle gift to rekindle that relationship. It's really retention done really well. The bottom line is that you can use a similar approach. If there are 30, 40, 100 customers that are critical to your revenue, you have to stop making that have stopped making purchases. You just need to call them, and if you can afford to do that, to do what this luxury retailer said, and send them something of value to rekindle that relationship and do it. But it's going to make a big difference in the long term. Now, with most marketing tech, you're limited to the ability to capture customer data after the customer has signed up. But things have moved on. And now with the right tech in place, you don't have to wait for that email address to start capturing data. And you need to append the customer's entire history to a record once a customer signs up. And this goes to the marketing automation problem that the poll indicated. In addition, that history is aggregated from all the devices and channels they've interacted with you. And that means that mobile browsing history is appended, even if they signed up from different devices. So a tablet versus a mobile versus their office computer at a different country.
You know, it really is the way to get to a unified customer profile. It's such a key component that we're trying to help retailers do today. When you think about being more effective and being more personalized to each one of those individual shoppers, what we've seen when we can do this with companies is that we've seen an uptick of almost 5 times more customers converting. It's a big number, and it's something that it relates directly with being able to personalize more effectively. So it's a very important strategy looking forward. We do this well, we're going to see more revenue become recovered. We're going to see less revenue being lost. And again, the unified profile is what we're really trying to help companies achieve. That customer intelligence is so much richer. It enables you to be able to send very specific campaigns. Done well, it'll become the number one factor in helping you to drive additional revenue for your company.
Moving on to the fourth step. In any recovery scenario, you have a higher emotional engagement than usual with the customer. So it's essential you reach them where they are while they're still hot for that product. And what this means is that you need the ability to layer and switch channels. Here, we're automating Facebook ads to customers who have recently bought, showing upsell products. Another way is to switch to Facebook ads when your best customers stop visiting the website and don't open their emails. So combining email with Facebook ads has been shown to increase conversion rates by around 22% according to Salesforce.
Alex, that's awesome because Facebook really does hit close to home for most people. But in some cases, we have to go one step further, and that's where text messaging or even in-app messaging could be tremendously effective. So if they're deflecting from the website, maybe they're not deflecting because there's something wrong there. It could just be they were on a channel like a cell phone or a tablet or something like that, and now it's changed again. So the direct message into the cell phone can be a great way to get them back in. And again, we want to make sure that we've got the right tools in place to be able to do that.
That's exactly right, Carl. So lastly, the last step is measuring results. You should measure the results of your abandoned cart campaign through a slightly different lens. And at this point, I'd like to introduce Phil, who could guide us through some very interesting information regarding analytics. Phil?
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Alex. On the next few slides, I want to share with you some high-level best practices that you can use in tandem with your re-engagement and your retargeting campaigns. We've heard a lot about data so far and analytics in terms of really getting a better understanding for how you can segment, how you can target. And I'm going to dig in just a little bit deeper to show you how you can get more value from your retargeting and re-engagement tactics through the use of data. So the first thing that might seem logical is to start off with considering the questions that you're going to want to focus on in retargeting in your retargeting and re-engagement program. So I've got a bunch of questions up here on the slide, but really when you think about it, the kinds of questions that you're going to be able to answer through analytics really have to do with three main areas. One is the customer journey through the shopping cart. You're going to want to understand if there's any barriers that the shopper is coming into, is coming up against while they're doing their shopping, and maybe encouraging them to drop out of the funnel. The other thing you want to take a look at and want to analyze is understanding the activity that your customers are having even before they enter the cart. There may be signals there that tell you what they're interested in or tell you what they may not be interested in. And then the third thing, which everyone is interested in trying to get a better handle on, is understanding the best return on investment from your marketing tactics. So I'm going to take a look at how we can understand these elements with a little bit more intention. So the first thing, let's take a look at how we can use the data at hand to answer your questions. So what I have up here is really a mapping of a mapping that shows you how to take some of the questions that you've asked, how to figure out the answer, what the answers that you want to get, and then how to attach data to getting the answers to those questions. Because we find one of the biggest challenges in using data, especially digital data, is developing meaningful metrics that guide decisions. Any of you who have used any analytics tools know that a lot of the data that comes out doesn't inherently make any sense. Visits, visitors, site entries and exits, they don't tell you much because there's often no context for the numbers. Most people are just following trends. And that's why I want to refer back to the opportunity score that Bridgeline introduced earlier in the deck. I really like this framework. The reason is because it gives you an opportunity to construct meaningful metrics based on understanding the trouble spots in the shopping cart that you may be trying to solve. So if you taking a look at the slide here, you'll see that we have a goal of trying to increase our cart completion by 10%. So if we do an analysis of the data and the activity in the shopping cart funnel, let's say we've identified that the credit card entry page and the customer registration pages are two major exit points. So clearly we want to fix those. And we saw in the opportunity scoring model that if we do fix those, we're going to pick up another $1.5 million of revenue. So if we continue to measure the activity in the cart and around those specific exit points, we'll be able to understand, as these points get fixed, how the fewer exits will actually result in getting to that 1.5 million in lost revenue. So what we can do is we can capture the exit rates, we can then tie it to the objectives of trying to decrease the exit rates from those pages, and then we can then eventually see an uptick in the revenue. So what I've laid out here is a very simple framework. It's you decide what your goals are, you determine what your objectives are, you select the data points that are going to help you figure out if you're meeting those objectives, and that way you can construct a range of metrics that help you improve the shopping cart experience and track the progress of the improvements that you've made. Now that we've figured out how to construct good metrics, I want to show you how we can improve the metrics and improve the results of the metrics that you get through the use of visitor behavioral segmentation. So what I'm showing you here is kind of a mapping of how you can go from general audience to creating a visitor profile to a segment. I want to just step back for a second. You know, the term behavioral segment is used a lot, and just so we're on the same page, I think of a segment as a group that's defined by the known online characteristics of your customer. So, you know, when someone goes through your shopping cart, we don't know their age and gender, but we can identify the geolocation they're coming from. We know if they've been to the shopping cart one time or more than one time, and we even know how frequently they've come to the cart and how much time they've spent going through the shopping process. So we also know the campaigns that brought them to your online store and the products that they've read about in your store before purchasing. So when you have this information, you can group these characteristics together into a segment, and then you can use this segment to get a much better understanding of your shoppers. So when you identify a behavioral segment, now you can see that there's a difference in their online behavior, even if they're from the same demographic. Let me give you an example. Let's say you send an email that goes to men between the ages of 35 to 45, and 30% of them browse for product pages and actually add more products to their cart. So knowing that this group likes to browse, you can then go back, focus on this segment, and create campaigns and landing pages that target this segment, make it easier for them to look around the site, maybe make multiple product selections, and then you'll end up increasing your average order size, which would be a bonus. So I just, in summary, I'd say that creating behavioral segments and really understanding how to assign metrics to them is probably going to be one of your most powerful analytic techniques that you can use. And in fact, it's really the most basic building block in developing a personalization strategy. I'm going to go to the next slide. I'm going to show you how that can work. So when we hear, just like behavioral segmentation, we also hear a lot about personalization. But what is it really? So I can tell you what I think it is. Like for me, it's all about a systematic and coordinated use of analytics, of content, and A/B testing to eventually identify even more granular segments. When you create these granular segments, let's just call them micro segments, you can then do a better job of targeting. So what you can do is you start with the behavioral segments that you created, like I've shown you at the top of the diamond here. You create content, and then you target that content onto this group. You want to see what people respond to, and you see which content performs better. You can then do further analysis to understand what specific types of products, what specific types of acquisition tactics, what type of content people are using. And you then can follow this process and this cycle on the same segment, or if you feel like you're getting the results from your tests that are satisfactory, you can roll out the tested and successful test recipe to your greater audience. So that shows you just how segmentation folds up into personalization. And personalization is nothing to be scared of. It's just a process that includes your content, your analytics, and your A/B testing platform. So I'd like to just conclude this little conversation we're having about analytics on another popular analytics, and that's multi-channel attribution. And this gets to the point I was making earlier, which was you want to know how you're spending your money, and you want to know what's the most effective way to spend your money. So multi-channel attribution analysis gives you the visibility into the acquisition, retargeting, and re-engagement tactics that drive the best results. But it gives you, but more importantly, it gives you a baseline for controlling and forecasting your marketing spend. So but more importantly, the other aspect of the multi-channel attribution is not just to understand the last touch. Let's say the last touch may come from email. It's to really understand where the assisted touches are. So for example, while email may yield more direct conversions, digital display provides the reinforcement of the messaging. And if you were only to look at the conversion in the last touch emails, you didn't correctly conclude possibly that you should remove display from your media mix. So the trick is, the trick with good multi-channel attribution is experimenting with the weighting that you're giving to each channel to determine the assisted as well as the direct conversion. So there's no magic here. It's trial and error, but it's something that from an analytics perspective, you definitely should be trying out. So that concludes my session on analytics. I'll turn it back over to Alex.
Yeah, thank you, Phil. So everybody can see here how important measuring the results is. How important measuring the result is versus also in combination with the different tactics that we use to get engagement and from people who abandoned their carts. So we've covered the 5 tactics. Now I want to explain what we have found to be important in e-commerce marketing tech. And that really boils down to 3 key things. So first is completeness. Retailers have fallen into the trap of patching together multiple technologies to address weak points in the customer journey. The result is really stitching different technologies together that manifest as a bug in the customer experience. This can do more to encourage than to prevent abandonment. And this is called SaaS sprawls, and it's famously a nightmare to manage with all the different multiple logins and API licenses, et cetera.
You know, Alex, another thing that can be a challenge for folks is, being integrated. And you think about, how many different technologies that are available today to be able to capture, collate the behavioral data across multiple different devices. And, by having some automation technologies integrate with the customer experience, we can make that more possible. The most efficient way to do this is to have everything in a single platform, and that really becomes the utopia that we're trying to achieve.
And finally, it's the last one is real time. So finally, shoppers abandon purchases for multiple reasons. The most common reasons, though, fall in 2 categories, pricing and timing. And in both cases, a well-planned response is critical. In the immediate hours after an abandoned session, where the user has shown intent, they're still emotionally engaged with the purchase. So the trick is to reach them before that engagement tails off. If your technology is limited to, say, 1 API call every 24 hours, that boat is missed. Timing is half the challenge, but you also need the ability to reach customers in real time.
There really are many platforms out there that can help us do that as well. At Bridgeline, we believe a smart channel coverage for your revenue recovery campaigns means having real-time intelligence with campaigns that are being driven by automation integrated with the e-commerce platform. And this is how we typically go about it. We attract users with robust campaign generation and SEO. We engage people with personalized content for both anonymous and or known users. We want to nurture them with the marketing automation and hopefully drive that user to better conversions through more relevant offers and messaging. And more importantly, we want to learn what's working and what's not through A/B testing. And when we can deliver this in a single unified platform, that enables us to bring a fully personalized experience to your customers. And if you can do that well, there's no telling how successful you can be moving forward.
Lastly, just a few words about our focus and how we've become experts in this field. Marketers and commerce departments use our tools to build sites, stores, workflows, really at scale and really without engineering support. Our customers build these empowering experiences that really unlock new levels of engagement and growth with their customer experience. And how we do it, we give our clients the ability to build attractive websites. They can target website visitors and send them relevant content and offers. But more importantly, they can execute entire marketing campaigns repeatedly and audibly. So our customers select us for 3 major reasons. They immensely improve their customer experience and can do everything better and faster. Our commerce solution was really born from CMS, and we really understand what a unified customer experience is. Actually, we've become experts in it.
You're right, Alex. And when we think about the Bridgeline Digital Suite, we've got really 5 different modules that are put together to help companies achieve everything that we've talked about today. The suite consists of Unbound Marketing, which is robust marketing automation as a standalone. Now, it is platform agnostic as well and integrates with many other platforms. So if you've got an existing website and you don't have marketing automation, it would be worth taking a look at Unbound Marketing as a potential add-on to help you achieve some of the things we talked about. But built into the Bridgeline content management system is a full-blown content manager with all the bells and whistles. And then, it also comes integrated with the Unbound Marketing capability. So now you don't have to have a analytics platform. And then when you think about an enterprise e-commerce platform integrated with all this, it would be similar to a Magento, an Adobe, a Demandware. But there's a lot of robust capabilities now that are coming together because we've unified this suite. One of the other differentiators that comes with the Content Manager and Unbound Marketing is our ability to even look beyond just that, Alex.
Yep, and lastly, we have 2 more modules, Social, which is our solution for owning the whole social strategy and conversation under one roof, and our solution for franchises, which is specifically built for multi-unit organizations, has really powerful e-commerce capabilities as well, and allows corporate to maintain the brand control and distribute unified content. We can skip on to the next one here. Carl.
Okay.
So zooming out back to the abandoned cart recovery, just want to summarize the points. You really need to get the right tech behind you, find the opportunities in the customer journey, prioritize them, automate programs that really have good response rates, and definitely need to measure your success. If you do all this, you're going to be on a good path for recovering revenue from the abandoned carts. So I think this is the end of our the presentation part. Right, Carl?
That's correct. Dom, you want to come in and see if we got some questions from the audience?
Yeah, let's do it, guys. Thanks, guys, so much for that. Alex, Carl, and Phil, great presentation. And great playing off each other there for sure. So yeah, Dominic Castro here, CMS Wire staff reporter, your moderator for the show. We are in the Q&A session of the show. And how do you get questions out to our presenters? Use the Q&A module right at the bottom left of the browser at any time to submit a question. Those Twitter handles are there for your knowledge. You can certainly tweet to us at any time. But for this Q&A on this webinar, keep those questions right in this platform here. Use that Q&A module at the bottom left of your browser. That'll be great. And also, be sure to check out that speaker widget to the left to learn more about our great presenters today, and the resources widget to the right for more information. Let's go ahead and get right into the Q&A queue. All right, first question. Should you discount when sending abandoned cart emails? Alex, why don't you take that one? Abandoned cart emails, should you discount it?
Sure. So if you decide to create multi-email checkout abandonment series of campaigns, which is something that we would definitely recommend, it's a good idea not to include discounts in the first few emails. You can mention the discount in later emails, though. So this can be beneficial because assuming that the prospective customer abandoned their checkout due to an interruption, all that may be needed is really just a nudge to get them to come back and complete the transaction. Now, if the checkout was abandoned due to price, then definitely a discount would be helpful. The whole challenge here, though, is that you generally won't know that specific reason why someone abandoned their cart at checkout. So saving the discount for future emails helps you keep your margins healthy. So the quick answer to this is yes to discounts, but not to immediate discount with the first few emails.
Alex, I've got a thought on this one as well, and I've seen this in the web today, and you probably have as well. When you think about people, coming to your site, potentially getting close to a sale, filling up a shopping cart, and then leaving, some people are so used now to us sending those kinds of discounts that they'll wait for it. So, you want to be smart about what you're offering there. You may want to change it up from one time to the next. Otherwise, you may be leaving revenue on the table just by offering a discount that may or may not have been necessary for you to be able to complete that sale.
Absolutely correct.
Don, what else we got?
Awesome. Thanks, guys, for the answers. Thanks for the question. So let's go to the next question. I'm going to pass it on to Carl for this one. The question, Carl, is how soon and how often should we send emails out after an abandoned cart?
That's an important question as well. So, Don, when I think about that, if we lose somebody at the point of a shopping cart, you probably don't want to wait more than 30 minutes to a half an hour to get that initial, kind of activation, reactivation email into their inbox. Now, once you've got that, you want to have your monitoring in place to make sure that if they've opened it, it's one thing. If they have responded and completed the purchase, that's a great thing. So the if-then statements that you would potentially set up as part of your marketing automation become a critical factor there. If they have not responded within 48 hours, it doesn't hurt to send it again and, maybe even make a more aggressive offer. For me, I think it's an important component that we want to test on a regular basis. And that's, try A/B testings, different offers, different subject lines, different creative. There's so many different factors that you can ultimately test within the context of an email. It becomes a great way to really see what works. And what you might find, which is what we talked about earlier, different demographics or audience segments within your population may respond to different things. It may only take a 10% offer to get a millennial to come back, where somebody who's a little bit older, that may require something that's a larger incentive. So again, a lot of different ways to approach this, but testing and being there within that hour is going to be a critical first step.
Awesome. Thank you, Carl, for that one. And now the next question, and I'll start with Phil on this one for an answer. So the question is, can you describe that opportunity score a bit more? Let's go to Phil to kick off that one.
Sure. Actually, this is a construct that Bridgeline put together, and I just happen to really like it because I thought it's a great way to do analytics. My understanding of it is, and Alex and Carl can chime in, is that it's a really good way to take a look at your shopping cart and kind of break up the components so you really understand all of the elements of the cart. This way you understand what elements of the cart are working for you and not working for you in the sense of what may be contributing to fall off of your customers. Beyond that, you then are able to create a valuation or a weighting for each of these different aspects of the cart experience, to give it, let's say, a value as to how much it might need to repair something, or how much it will actually enable you to realize from a monetary perspective. And then you can decide level of effort against what it takes to fix each of these elements. And so, to me, this is a great construct for analytics because it puts your numbers, let's say very basic analytics numbers like cart abandonment, exits and such, or time in the cart. It allows you to put those numbers against targets, and it allows you to figure out how you can keep going forward with your repairs of the cart.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that one, Phil, and thanks for the question. Once again, we are here in the Q&A with Bridgeline Digital today. This is Don Nicastro, your moderator from CMS Wires. The next question. So the question is, how do we know they abandoned their cart due to pricing? So it's really a pricing matter. How do we figure that out? Alex, why don't you take that one?
Sure, I can. This is related to the first question about discount, and I can definitely chime in here. But Phil also I think you might have a good idea on this one as well. So like I said, it's really a challenge to really at first know why they're abandoning their cart. You won't know if it's due to price unless you've pinged them a couple of times and seen their reactions. How they reacted to an email that came in, if you use retargeting on a different channel like Facebook or text messages, if you employ those, and you see how they react. Now, a discount is a huge motivator for many consumers, but you can't know right off the bat. But analytics do help us identify this early on. Right, Phil?
Yeah, I would agree with you, Alex. And I was, thinking that there's different ways to do this. I mean, if you're looking at the kinds of, if you're looking at someone's behavior, or let's say a segment's behavior that does, let's say, bail out where you think its price is an issue, you can look at you can look at the content, you can look at the products that they've looked at, in the session to see if that might be a predictor for, for understanding why they may have bailed on price. Another thing that you can look at, which is also more around user experience, is how price is presented and where in the process they're actually seeing price, and how that might affect their interest in staying into the cart or bailing. So those are just a couple of analytics methods you can use. And then certainly if you do user experience testing or surveying, voice of customer, these are other, let's say, directional methods of analytics that you can use to get a sense for how price impacts abandonment.
Thank you. Thank you for that one, Phil and Alex. And we'll go one more question, and we'll kick it to Alex. And Alex, I'll give you about 1.5 to 2 minutes for this so we can do our wrap-up. So the question is, regarding that pricing as an abandonment issue, how much does the lack of free shipping factor into abandoned carts? I know my wife's a big one on that. Like, hey, it's got free shipping too. Don't worry about how much I spent. What do you think, Alex?
So that's actually very accurate. So people are not okay with paying high shipping rates. Most people buy online because they get the goods delivered at their doorstep and they get a discount at the same time. So high shipping costs increase the price and they take away that motivation. Also, online buyers are often buying goods on an impulse. If they realize that this will take weeks for the product to reach them, in addition to being more expensive, they'll might look elsewhere, either at a competitor online or even compare it with retail shopping. Carl has some pretty good examples from clients that he's been working with. Did you want to chime in on this one, Carl?
There's one thing here, and I appreciate this question because, again, it is an important one. So when we think about an abandoned cart because of a shipping cost or the lack of free shipping, one of the things that you could do with part of your marketing automation, sometimes when you don't win the sale, we want to know why. It's logical where you could put in an email into a campaign that would enable a brief survey and get responses to some of these questions. Sometimes the best way to learn about this is to ask your audience directly. That's it.
Nice. Nice. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, everybody, for that. Thanks for the wonderful questions, too. Really kept that Q&A lively. We appreciate that, folks. Hey, we come to that part of the show where the Hardy who stuck around for this whole webinar, the Hardy listener here, is going to win a free 3-day pass to CMS Wire's DX Summit 2017, November 13th to 15th in Chicago. $2,295 value. What a deal. The winner is Melissa Klein. Congratulations, Melissa. We'll be in touch with you going forward. Thank you for listening to the show. All right, one more slide to go, folks, before we let you go. Just a reminder, this webinar has been recorded. The on-demand video will be available to you. It's going to be emailed in a few business days. We'll have a recap article on cmswire.com. I'll personally write that one. And thanks so much to Phil Kemmler, Alex Campos, and Kyle Cordes for speaking today. Great job, nice and lively, guys. And thanks, of course, to Bridgeline for sponsoring today's event. If you want to sponsor an event like Line did today, just hit us up, webinars@cmswire.com. Don Nicastro, staff reporter, signing off for CMS Wire. Have a great day, folks.